Just
Okay, so Chris Paul has been traded to the Phoenix Suns. So in that trade, the Phoenix Suns got Chris Paul and the Oklahoma City Thunder get Ricky Rubio, Kelly Oubre, Ty Jerome, Jalen Lecque, and a 2022 first round pick. This was reported by Adrian Wojnarowski, and the extra information that we got was reported by Sham Chararia. I think that's how you pronounce it. Chararia. I probably botched that last name. So we'll start with you, Nate. What do you think about this trade?
I think it's pretty solid. I mean, Chris Paul is a veteran NBA player. We all know that. Um, and I think that's something the Phoenix Suns team has been lacking for a long time now. It is that veteran player. You know, the one that's been here long enough to tell you the rights and wrongs. You know, willing to tell you that kind of experience. So, I mean, do they still need more pieces to the puzzle? Yes, absolutely. You know, that team's still very young and quite frankly, you know, they could be on a mission with this one. You know, I can't tell you for sure. But I think overall, I think one thing and every time I watch the Phoenix Suns, I always watch them. I see that they don't have that star veteran, you know, and go and you know, Chris Paul isn't a bad start to be quite honest with you. I really don't think that's a bad trade at all. Um, but I think I'm not sure what the Phoenix Suns are up to. They're probably gonna build around what they got right now. I still think, but to be honest, I don't think they're like extreme playoff caliber right this minute. I think they still need more things to do before they can actually get to that level. But right now, if I'm being honest, this is not a bad start whatsoever.
See, I disagree. I think this makes them a playoff contention team, and I'm gonna tell you why. So last year, I think a very underrated piece to that Phoenix Suns team was Ricky Rubio, and Ricky Rubio has been, in my opinion, I'm not gonna say he's one of the best passers in the league because obviously, you got the Westbrooks, you got the LeBron James, you got the Lonzo Ball. I think Lonzo Ball's a great passer, and you got all these great passers in the league. But honestly, Ricky Rubio is a good pass. He's been a very good passer for a very long time now. And so with that being said, I think Chris Paul is obviously I think he's a better passer than Ricky Rubio, but I think he's also a better scorer than Ricky Rubio, and I think that really helps them. And the reason why is because when you pair Chris Paul up with another scorer like Devin Booker, and then you pair him up with a good center like DeAndre Ayton, that is going to cause some problems on that on for other teams. Now, I consider that a big three right there. And the one thing I can say is this: the NBA, in order to succeed in these types of NBAs, you need a big three. Like I feel like that's just what it turned into. Since like LeBron paired up with the Heat, and since he went back home to Cleveland, and since Kevin Durant went to Golden State, I feel that that big three. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I think the Phoenix Suns hit. I think the Phoenix Suns have the first ever, have not the first ever, but the first, like especially this year. I think they have the first solid big three in the league. Because if you remember last year, like especially now, because this is the first ever trade. If you remember, like LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and then who was the third guy? Rajon Rondo. Well, that's not really a
Right.
solid big three. You know what I'm saying? Look at
Yeah.
the
Right.
Clippers. Okay, they had Kawhi, Paul George, and then they had like maybe Lou Williams. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's not a solid big three. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Hesitant with that third guy. You know who the first two are, but just hesitant with that third guy. The Celtics were very close to it too. I think the Celtics were the closest ones. Either Celtics or the Heat, because the Celtics
Yeah.
had Jalen Brown, Kemba
Jalen
Walker,
Brown, Kemba Walker, and Jason Tatum.
absolutely, and then the
Yeah.
Heat had Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and then Tyler Hero these
Yeah.
playoffs. So that was their big three. But if you look at the Phoenix Suns, you got DeAndre Ayton, who's actually a very good center. I think in a
Devin
few
Booker.
years he'll probably be one of the NBA's best centers. That's number one. You got Devin Booker, who I think he's a very great shooting guard.
We
You know what I'm
already
saying?
know Devin Booker's a
And I think
great
he's been.
scorer
I
shooter.
think besides last year, he has been snubbed from the All Star game too many times because this guy is a great shooting guy. Him and Zach Levine, I think, are on the same. I think honestly, I think Devin Booker is a little better than Zach Levine, but I do think that those two are very underrated shooting guards. And then when you add
Absolutely, I
Chris
agree.
Paul, a seasoned veteran as a point guard there, that adds so much. Now, what did the Phoenix Suns lose? Well, one guy that was really good for them was Kelly Oubre. And Kelly Oubre was actually starting to turn into a very productive scorer. So now you take him and then you take Ricky Rubio and his passing skills, you take them to OKC. And then Ty Jerome, he went to he was part of that Virginia team that won the NCAA championship.
Yeah,
A couple the Virginia team that obviously won the last March Madness tournament. He was part of that team, but I don't think he really fully developed yet into that kind of guy that we were expecting him to develop as. So those guys end up going to OKC, and you got to give them time because OKC has a very, very young roster. You know, between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Kelly Oubre's on there now. Ricky Rubio's getting old. That's like probably the veteran right there with Steven Adams. And then you add Ty Jerome. So they have a lot of young players who could actually produce in the future. And then you add that 2022 first round pick. You know what I'm saying? They're going to have a very young squad. And they might not be playoff contenders like for the first like 2 years, but give it 3 or 4 years, and the Thunder might be back in the playoffs. But right now, here's what I'm looking at Phoenix. You got a veteran in Chris Paul, who's a good point guard. My bad, a great point guard. I mean, this dude's gonna be a Hall of Famer. You have
yeah,
Devin Booker, who's a great shooting guard, and I think deserves his credit when credit's due. Remember, they went 18-0. They went 18-0. They went 8-0 in the bubble with playoff contention teams. You know,
yeah,
so we got to give them credit. We got to give Monty Williams their head coach. We got to give him some credit for doing that. You know, and then you add DeAndre Ayton, and DeAndre Ayton's obviously. I'm telling you, he's going to be one of the best centers in the league. Give it 3 or 4 years, he will be that. And then there's a fourth though too. Cameron Johnson. He's a rookie last year coming out of UNC. Great shooter, and that's another shooter that Chris Paul can just pass it to on the outside, and he has a pretty jump shot and everything like that. So the Phoenix Suns, I actually do believe they can be playoff contending teams. Championship contending, no, because again, you still got to worry about. Well, we don't know what's going to happen with the Rockets because now there's rumors that like James Harden might be traded, but we don't know what's going to happen with them.
there's a rumor that he might go to the Nets, but I don't think that'll happen.
Right. I mean, it could. You never
I
know,
mean, it
but
could, but I don't think it will. Quite honest with you.
like again, they still gotta get through the Clippers. Then they got to get through the Lakers. Now they got to get through the Jazz, and you know what
They
I'm
gotta
saying.
get through.
But
They
I
gotta
do
get
think
through them. The Nuggets. If the war, you think
the
this is
Nuggets,
probably for another time.
absolutely.
But you think the Warriors will be a threat or not?
I think the Warriors are gonna go back to being a threat. Remember, they lost Klay Thompson and Steph
Yeah.
Curry that whole year. They're gonna come
Yes.
back, so they're definitely gonna be a threat, especially when you give them the second pick in the NBA draft. They are
Yeah.
definitely going to be a threat, without a doubt. Especially if they get James Wiseman, a center that they desperately need.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they're going to be a
I,
threat.
I absolutely agree
And
with
so
that.
I can't see them going through them. And Portland's about to get healthy
Oh
too.
yeah,
When
Portland's
Portland's
about to
healthy,
get
I
hot
think
with
they're
Damian Lillard leading the way.
absolutely they're going to be a threat. And so I
Yeah.
can't see them being a championship team, but a playoff contending team, absolutely. I think Chris Paul can definitely take it to the playoffs, especially after seeing him take the OKC Thunder to the playoffs, and they had, I think, even less than what the Suns do now, and they
Yeah.
went 7 games against James Harden and Russell Westbrook, who are both former MVPs. So honestly, I think this is a great trade for the Phoenix Suns.
I
I
agree.
think in the future this might be off for the Thunder. We're gonna have to find out, but I think this was a great trade by the Suns, and this is exactly what they needed to shift that franchise from being one of the worst in the league to one of the best.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree with your claim. I agree with your claim. Uh, I wish Chris Paul the best in Phoenix. You know, I wish the Phoenix Suns well. Overall, this is a
Absolutely.
pretty solid trade.